Hey everyone, welcome to the Revillager podcast. This is our third session in an ongoing live interview series as part of our Revillager Kickstarter, which is live now. Today we have the honor of talking to Hereditary Chief Phil Lane Jr., who is an enrolled member of the Ihanktonwan, Dakota, and Chickasaw nations, and is an internationally recognized leader in human, community, and economic development. During the past 50 years, Chief Phil Lane has worked with Indigenous peoples from the Americas, Micronesia, Southeast Asia, China, India, Bhutan, Hawaii, and Africa. He served 16 years as an associate professor at the Faculty of Education at the University of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. And in 1982, Chief Phil Lane founded the Four Worlds International Institute. As well, Phil is chairman of Four Directions International and Compassion Games International. And he also co-authored an inspiring scholarly paper called Deep Social Networks and the Digital Fourth Way, which explored the relationship between Indigenous principles of community and relationship with emerging technologies and the potential of using social networks for positive change. So bringing Uncle Phil on. Hello, Uncle Phil. Welcome.
Yes. So nice to see you there, Tushka Jasper. Wonderful.
It's so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Uncle Phil is going to bring us into some really powerful wisdom around the principles of Indigenous community and village making. But first, I wanted to ask Uncle Phil if you'd open this with an opening prayer.
Sure. Oten Kashla Wakantaka, Creator of the universe, most beloved one, all-powerful one, most kind one, most compassionate one, ever forgiving one, O Ancient of Days, O Blessed Beauty, O most magnificent one, we call upon your holy power at this time to infuse us with the understanding that each of us is a sovereignty, ancient and perishable and everlasting, that each of us has a great destiny. Each of us has been born at a time it's been promised by all the visionaries, the poets, the prophets, the day that we're entering that shall be not followed by night. In Kaishawakantaka, we give respect and honor to all members of the human family. From the east, from where comes the red sunrise, the south, from where comes new life, the west, from where comes thunder, lightning, and rain, the north, from where comes the white snow. We also honor Father Sky and all the masculine elements of life. At the same time, we fully understand and ask for the understanding that our masculine dimensions of us as human beings has led us almost to destroying ourselves and our beloved Mother Earth. And constantly humble ourselves before Mother Earth and her representatives, womankind. And we ask that all of us as human beings might develop more and more of these, what different cultures call feminine qualities, but those qualities, the full spectrum that we have as human beings. For the soul has no ethnicity, no gender, no class, no race. Our soul is a reflection of the oneness of our Creator. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal unto them every purpose. We follow thy commandments and guide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps to the light of knowledge and cheer their hearts with your love. Haul chante washtelo, shunk mano hemeado, chinupasapa hemero, haul chante washte. Aho.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Uncle.
Thank you. Well, Scott, I want to take you back to the 1970s, 60s. At that time, our Indigenous communities were on life support, so to speak. We were in a place of great devastation. Our communities were experienced 100% alcoholism. That is, every person in the community, 9 years up in some cases, they're suffering from alcoholism, drug abuse. And of course, within that, there's sexual abuse and all kinds of family violence, all those kinds that come along with this intergenerational trauma that we carry as a human family. And in 1982, we knew it was time to call a meeting of all our Indigenous elders of the Eagle, that is in what we call Turtle Island to the north. Of course, their relatives in Central America have come to be known as the Quetzal. Our relatives in the Andes and other places in South America, the Condor, and of course the Amazon. As we've really encountered them, very sacred bird that fits in as a hummingbird. In those days, it was really very, very pitiful in terms of where we're at. So we called a gathering of elders, 40 elders, who came to Lethbridge, Alberta. I was a professor at that time at the University of Lethbridge in Faculty of Education. And we spent 4 days and 4 nights discussing how we rebuild community, common unity among our tribes and nations, as well as in our families, because our families were broken as well. And we met for 4 days and 4 nights, 40 elders. And when we distilled what the elders told us, it really brought us right down to the foundation of things. They said, if you were to, they said, first of all, this universe is organized according to physical and spiritual laws. That the physical laws easy to understand. If you drive a car 100 miles an hour into a concrete wall, you're going to spin it up. Drink a glass of arsenic, you're going to get up off a 10-story building, your head, you're going to get a pretty good headache. Those are the natural physical laws. They bind all in this physical world of time and space. But underlying this, the foundation are those spiritual laws, the laws that govern the very, very foundation and movement of this physical world of time and space. And also, when we come in alignment with these spiritual laws or principles, we can that are before us. So sure enough, they gave us 4 of these sacred principles to begin with. 1, development comes from within. Others can help and assist. And then we took those 4 and then had another gathering in 1977 where we invited 100 elders to come together and share. And so from 4 principles we went to 7. And then in 1994 and 95, we called a meeting of 500 came together. 500 relatives came together for 7 days from mainly Indigenous people, but also other members of our human family. And there we completed what we call 16 principles for building a harmonious, sustainable, prosperous world. But I think they're the foundation for building community. And so, Coach Shaw, any thoughts, questions at this point before we go into the principles?
No, I'm excited to hear.
So I'm going to ask you if you would be so kind to help your uncle here move those slides forward. So let's begin. So Re-Villager presentation, April 20th, 2023. Although it's April 25th, 2023. The technology sometimes moves us forward in ways we don't know. 16 Indigenous principles of building a sustainable, harmonious, and prosperous communities. Okay. Of course, obviously, the first thing is to understand we can transform the world. We can transform ourselves. We can transform our communities. The web of our relationship with others in the natural world, which has given rise to the problems we face as a human family, can be changed. If you don't have that understanding of that first principle, then it's pretty hard to make change. If you believe that life is just one disaster after another, followed by death, and you go to hell and burn forever, well, life's not going to be so happy. We have to have faith. We have to have faith and know that each of us is a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. And each of us has the capacity to change ourselves and change the world around us by changing our own self. Because that's the only one you can change, your own self. As you change, as our teaching teaches, the hurt of one is the hurt of all. The healing of one is a healing of all.
Mm.
Let's go to principle 2. Development comes from within. The process of human and community development unfolds from within each person, relationship, family, organization, community, or nation. It comes within. Others can help and assist, but it has to come from here. So you have, number one, you have the belief, yes, I can change. And that change comes from within, right here, in my own soul and heart. And that way also, we realize it comes from within others and within communities. So how we treat others, we want to encourage them without ever feeling somehow we're better than or whatever. In fact, we should humble ourselves and just offer with great love and compassion what might support that person unfolding from within. But to come in and force people, we can see what happens. I think it was pretty clear what happened when you put on people, and some of the relatives that didn't care for that and still don't care for it much. It's getting more and more like that,
Yeah.
It is, sadly, but we have to also have faith again and not allow these things to discourage us, because what's happening, as I see it, these systems that really unfolded over 500 years ago, both of them, whether it be capitalism or communism, Marxism, are both based in the material understanding of who we are, human beings. Both of them. Both of them. And when you found any kind of economic system or a community on just material values, on where anything goes, lies, theft, it might be covered up. We know a lot of things are, but eventually a human being whose lives are built on the materialistic values of greed, of selfishness, etc. Not only will they collapse, but any society based on these or civilization based on these will collapse as well. And that's why the elders said, we've got to build this on principles, on a spiritual foundation. And that's what we began really doing very clearly, with a clear vision in mind. And after we had our meeting between Christmas and New Year's 1982. Next, number 3. Okay. Healing. Healing is a necessary part of development. Healing the past, closing up old wounds, and learning healthy habits of thought and action to replace dysfunctional thinking and disruptive patterns of human relations as a necessary part of the process of sustainable development. This healing dimension, we know development comes from within. We know that we have to know we can change, but then the healing dimension, to heal our hearts, to heal our souls, and also really, really in doing that, understanding we're divine, sacred beings. So then we begin to think about what kind of food do we eat, because we say that we have that the stomach is our sacred fire. Because we look at the legs as the earth. Above the earth is a lake. Above the lake is the fire. No, I'm sorry. Above the lake are the clouds, and above the clouds is the fire. So, in that sacred water, you got to think about, what am I putting in there? Am I enhancing that water, the water of life? Am I polluting that water? Okay, next. Justice. The new global civilization that's now unfolding, its guiding principle is justice. Justice. Every person, regardless of gender, race, age, culture, religion, must be accorded equal opportunity to participate in the process of healing and development and to receive a fair share of the benefits. Every human being. So justice. You want to be able to see through our own eyes, hear through our own ears, know of our own selves. independently to investigate truth. And that's being just. To be just with ourselves, to be just with every human being, and to be just with our Mother Earth and all living things.
Mm.
Number 5. No vision, no development. A vision of who we can become and what a sustainable world would look like works as a powerful magnet drawing us to our potential. So it's so important that we really have this vision, that is one based in justice, based in understanding of the prior unity and oneness of the human family, based in those spiritual values of kindness, respect, love, compassion, and a vision that we can all be part of. We can all be part of. So we got to be able to see your community, this thriving community of relatives of the human family coming together, basing their whole educational process on children, on raising next generations, especially those first 5 years of life, where we know the epigenetic dimension is so important. What happens, and even in the womb as well. So a community that respects children. My uncle Vine Deloria said, any civilization in the future will be judged of how they treated those at the twilight of their lives and those at the dawn of their lives. So also in that vision, elders, to have elders that can share their experience and their wisdom of what they've gone through. Because our society, it's so interesting. When I went to university, I was so shocked. I went to this economic class and it showed the value of a human being. And it went up to around 45 and it started going down. Can you imagine a society built that believes that?
Yeah.
And you kept thinking, well, when am I going to hit my peak? When am I going to... I just got started. I haven't had breakfast yet. In terms of its physical world of time and space, the way I like to look at it is, if you're running a 400 meter or 400 yard dash, it's all right, or a basketball game of 4 quarters. It's all right how you do the first 100 meters or the first quarter of the game. That's good. Second quarter or 100 meters, or the third. But what really counts is that last 100 meters, that last quarter. That's when you really dig in. That's where we should be as elders. Not laying around all day watching Netflix, binging on Netflix, or again, I've got 2 pensioners, so it is true. You just wear out. So what I'm telling you here is based on experience of knowing what I could have done in the past that would have made my eldership a little bit better. Take good care of ourselves from the very beginning. From as soon as we know and are aware of ourselves and our ability to make choices, we have to make those choices of those things which lead to our upliftment. There's another difference between that and those things which lead down the hole, so to speak, in misery and unhappiness. What leads to our happiness? What do we need to do to be happy and joyful beings? Same time, what causes us to be, sick beings? Unhappy with other people, unhappy with ourselves. Most of all, ourselves. What it is. If you believe you're a second-class citizen, how do you look at other people who are like you? That's what we call internalized depression, where it's so easy to oppress people to oppress one another. Okay, let's go. Vision again. stepping into an ever-renewing vision of human possibility. And that's what we're doing, step by step. So in your community building, having this vision of and really volition or will is composed of making goals, persevering after those goals and completing those goals. So you've got to be able to come together as a community and say, okay, what is it we're going to do here in 2023 together? Coming together and saying, okay, where are we at in that vision? But it's so clear to have that vision of what it is that your communities want to achieve, what they want to become. Number 7. So these are determinants of health that we found in directly consulting with hundreds of Indigenous communities across the Americas. Of course, it's interesting. It's a little bit different, and then some scholars look at what human beings really need. So first is our communities, they want basic physical needs. Of course, everybody wants adequate nutrition, clothing, shelter, pure drinking water, sanitary waste disposal, access to medical services. But the interesting thing is the second thing is spirituality and purpose. And a sense of purpose. Connection to the Creator and a clear sense of purpose and direction in individual, family, community life, as well as in the collective life of the nation, or the state, or whatever you want to call it. But that's the second thing for our Indigenous people. Next. Life-sustaining values, morals, and ethics, guiding principles and a code of conduct that informs choices in all aspects of life at the level of individual families and institutions. Again, these guiding principles. We have a code of ethics. I have a whole document of our foundation documents of our the Condor, the Quetzal, and the Eagle. How many I'll share with you. It has a great. It has this whole thing together. Safety and security, free from fear. Freedom from fear, intimidation, threats, violence, criminal victimization, all forms of abuse, both within families and homes, and all other aspects of community life of the people. Adequate income and sustainable economies. So your community is going to think about what is it we can do together to ensure that we have the resources to take care of the children, to take care of our elders, to take care of our community. Access the resource needed to sustain life at a level that permits the continued development of human beings, as well as the process of economic engagement that are capable of producing sustainable prosperity. And we can see that we're moving into a whole new age of being able to be at home while still participating in the global economy. And I think we're going to see incredible changes in the next 20 years. Even the next year. I've been using this AI chat. Oh yeah, what a deal.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I saw different places where, of course, sometimes gives you false information, but I wanted, for instance, I went and but at the same time, you have to know how to write, you have to know how to ask the right questions.
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
So if you don't know sweet medicine is, you can't ask about and see how aware the world is about sweet medicine. Right. And great visionary of the Cheyenne people. But I found sweet medicine and all that. And so it's amazing, And now at the same time, I think we have to realize about technology is like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build the most beautiful home. You can use a hammer to hit somebody in the head. That depends on, again, points 2 and 3. Principles 2 and 3. We're talking about here. Next, please. Adequate power. A reasonable level of control and voice in shaping one's life and environment through a process of meaningful participation in the political, social, and economic life of one's community and nation. And I think this is where people are really beginning to see that this is being slowly but surely eroded.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, our human family is losing, the vast majority is losing the ability to participate in our own becoming. And you see, again, development comes from within, doesn't come from on top. And that's what's happening today. Opposite of exactly what our elders said. And what it's causing, you can see what's happening in the world from this approach. Social justice and equity, a fair and equitable distribution of opportunities for all, as well as sustainable mechanism processes for balancing inequities, injustice, and injuries that have or are occurring. So even in a community, for instance, we do talking circles or healing circles or sharing circles. There's also principles of consultation. These are all things, by the way, that this community know we are going to be doing an intensive training on how to lead talking circles, sharing circles, healing circles coming up towards the end of May.
Beautiful.
Cultural integrity and identity, pride in heritage and traditions, access and utilization of the wisdom and knowledge of the past, and a healthy identification with living processes of one's own culture as a distinct and viable way of life for individuals, family, institutions, communities, and nations. From my perspective, there are so many wonderful ways that our human family have developed all over Mother Earth culturally that really I'm feeling like I'm becoming a universal citizen of Mother Earth. Because if you think about it, so many things that we have around us come from so many different cultures. So many different cultures. And Frank Foolscrow, one of our great, great spiritual teachers, he lived almost, I think, around 100. And he shared, which I realize, when you've had so much taken away from you, why there's such a resentment and ill feelings towards people somehow culturally appropriating, et cetera. I understand that part. At the same time, Foolscrow said, Elder Frank said, if we don't share our cultures, our ceremonies, we don't share what we have, the earth's going to die. And if the earth dies, we're going to die. So we have time to share. It's time to share. Because if we stay in that place of hatred, anger, whatever the situation is, that's exactly what we bring into our lives. And I can tell you, from my own experience, I had a lot of rage and anger and hatred within me because I was born in an Indian boarding school. My mom and dad went through their lives weren't that great as being treated as Indigenous people. And of course, that passes directly into me. And so it made me quite a football player, wrestler. I could really pole vault pretty good. I had so much, But after a while, that hatred and anger took me right down the tube: alcoholism, drug abuse, unhealthy relationships, and so forth. But the one good thing about having addiction, I always say, it's the most wonderful disease you can have is addiction. Why? Because the only way out is a spiritual path. There's no other way. A spiritual path. So I'm thankful for that. But what I found then, and when this occurred to me in 1967, I had kind of this spiritual experience. It's kind of a new springtime in my life, which, by the way, I believe we go through many of these in our lives. I think we go through many spiritual rebirths. I think we just have to know that life's a cycle, and that everything that comes to us in our lives comes from our own spiritual perfecting. And outwardly, it may seem like fire and vengeance, but inwardly, it's purified water. Let's go to the next. Community, solidarity, and social support. This is absolutely so key. To live within a unified community that has a strong sense of its common oneness, and within each person receives the love, caring, and support they need from others. This is so important. To ask somebody, if they've been sick, how are you feeling today? How are you doing? Oh, gee, that's a beautiful baby. What's that? What's your child's name? And talk to that child. We and see ourselves, all of us, you might say, as umbilical cords from the spiritual world, sharing from that world of love and kindness and compassion. Strong families and healthy child development. Families that are spiritually centered, loving, unified, free from addiction and abuse, and which provide a strong focus on supporting the development needs for children from the time of conception, so important, and through the early years and all the way through the time of childhood and youth. I want to say this here at this point. From our perspective, in fact, there's even been photographs taken at the time of conception, light flashes. We believe at that time is when, you might say, we connect with our soul and dimension of ourselves that is a sovereignty, ancient dimension, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting comes to being. So no matter what happens to the child in the womb, that human being continues on. It continues on. And I say that because I've done a lot of counseling with sisters who have been in a position where they felt they had no choice but to get an abortion. And of course, they suffer from that. At the same time, by the way, and I'm not saying that that's the way children, are going to prosper. But a thing to remember is that child that's gone from this world is being received with the utmost love and kindness, compassion in the spiritual worlds. It's us that have to look at how can we more respect life, but also remembering the Creator's ever forgiving. Healthy ecosystem and a sustainable relationship between human beings and the natural world. The natural world is held precious and honored as sacred by the people. It is understood that human beings live within nature as fish live in water. We're one. We're one with all life. Next. Critical learning opportunities. Consistent and systematic opportunities for continuous learning and improvement in all aspects of our life. We are learning beings. We learn from the time we're conceived, the time we pass the spiritual world. We're always learning. And one of the greatest pains people can have is just to be completely bored. Is bored with their life. So we have to be able to provide those opportunities for what is needed now. So education with AI and all sorts of things. Yes, and by the way, certainly there's dangers to AI, just like the person with the hammer is angry and hateful and wants to hit somebody in the head. Or the fact that we know that we can teach AI to lie. Fact is. At the same time, we have the critical part of the process of being able to go over everything and correct it where necessary, to really do our due diligence and independently investigate the truth for ourselves. Adequate human service and social security net, programs and processes to promote, support, enhance human healing and social development, as well as to protect and enable the most vulnerable to lead lives of dignity and achieve adequate levels of well-being. Meaningful work and service to others. Opportunities for all to contribute meaningfully to the well-being and progress of their families, community, nations, as well as the global human family. And I really believe work in the service of others is prayer. The highest prayer we have and can give to the human family is how we live our daily life. It's nice to have time to meditate. It's nice to share prayers. At the same time, the real prayer is how you live your daily life. I remember sun dancing for the first time back in 1980 with a really wonderful elder, Pete Ketches. And when we completed the sun dance, he said, okay, he said, boys, we like to dance 2 days and 2 nights nonstop, day and night. He said, okay, boys, the real measure of how well you've danced this year is how you're going to live the other 363 days. That's the real measure. How you live your daily life. It's great. You go have these different ceremonies, plant ceremonies, all kinds of things. But what difference does it make of how we live our lives on a daily basis? That makes no sense. Okay, next. Authentic development is culturally based. Healing and development must be rooted in the wisdom, knowledge, and living process of the culture of the people. Now, the question comes, people say, okay, well, I really don't know much about my cultural background. Well, that means to look in there, to look in your soul, and also to know that we're one human family. And if we can find ways that have been developed by other cultures, then we should be able to embrace those. I want to find the light. I don't care what the lampshade looks like. I want to find that light. What difference does a lampshade make? The main thing is the light. Whatever human being, whatever the skin color is, whether they're young, tall, small, old, young, whatever, that's what counts. Okay, next. So we can see from culture or broken culture, all these things: family development, interaction with outsiders, economic activity, education, parenting, health promotion, recreational activities, leadership and decision making. All these come out of culture, out of our foundation. And I think that we're really coming to a new global culture, a new global civilization. So what's that about? What do we need for that? So really, as we're talking about how we treat each other individually with kindness, respect, and honor, and compassion, and so forth, and care, and knowing the hurt of one is the hurt of all, should it be also the way we treat other nations, between nations? Same way. I mean, if you had a brother or sister and they were starving to death, and you were just filling yourself up with every goodie you could think of, you'd share. Because we're one human family. We're all indigenous people, this Mother Earth. Whether we realize that yet or not, we are coming to that realization. Interconnectedness. Everything is connected to everything else. Therefore, any aspect of our healing and development is related to all the others: personal, social, cultural, political, economic. When we work on any part, the whole circle is affected. So this interrelationship between all living things, between ourselves, and that if we're in community and I get in a fight with my relative and we don't speak to each other, or we just give each other dirty looks, the whole community is affected. You've been in those situations. We all have. You have two people you love very much, and they get in a fight, and you're kind of stuck, So all we can do at that time is just be as loving and kind and compassionate as we can be, and be the model we need to be. Okay, next. That means the mineral, the plant, the animal, the human. They're all related. In fact, our sacred pipe, the bowl, represents the mineral people. The stem represents the plant people. The eagle feather, or whatever, represents the animal people. And of course, when we put the pipe together, the bowl representing earth, womankind, and the stem representing mankind, we put those together, we create the human. Compose all the rest, and they're all related. And we know this too, that the animal relatives feel the same identical physical pain we feel. And they feel about their children as we do. That same care. So being kind to animals is something so important to teach our children and to be. I mean, I hear in White Rock, it's against the law to feed the animals. And if we go to the mall, so when we first moved here, there wasn't so many seagulls at the mall. They don't have anything to eat. They're crying. You can hear them crying. Sitting up there crying. So we always find ways to kind of out the window of our car, give food. We have ducks to come to our front door. We have our little ducks come to the front door. My wife feeds those. Behind our house, little raccoons come. And, we put a little something out there for them, because we're taking away from all these little all our relatives. We're just building these big skyscrapers, tearing down the trees, How about the animal people? Don't they have some rights?
Mhm.
I believe they do.
Mhm.
Because when they go, we go.
Mhm.
You can see we've almost wiped out the monarch butterfly. Almost wiped it out. Wiped it out. I can remember seeing the monarch butterfly when I was a boy everywhere. We can see what we're doing in this lack of spiritual understanding we have. Next one.
Mhm.
No unity, no development. Unity means oneness. Without unity, the common oneness that makes seemingly separate human being into community is impossible. Disunity is a primary disease of community. It's a primary disease affecting the indigenous peoples of the Americas, is disunity, caused by colonization and resulting in interpersonal trauma and lateral
Mhm.
violence.
Mhm.
Next. No participation, no development. Participation is the active engagement of the minds, hearts, and energy of the people in the process of their own healing and development. So we need to find a way so your whole community can participate in the
Mhm.
development of the community, from the smallest to the oldest.
Mhm.
Next. Now, these are a series of principles of consultation. I won't go over them right now. They're there. Um, but please, all these are you're most welcome to share. In fact, I'll send you a whole series of these PowerPoints that you can use. I'll build
Beautiful.
a whole foundation, which are a Union, the Condor, the Quetzal, and the Eagle, and Hummingbird are built.
Mhm.
I just go ahead and go through them. Okay. The hurt of one is a hurt of all. The honor of one is the honor of all. The healing of one is the healing of all. The upliftment of one is the upliftment of all. The
Mhm.
basic fact of our oneness as human family means that development for some at the expense of well-being for others is not acceptable or sustainable. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing in the world today. Exactly.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
being violated. Human beings are both material and spiritual in nature. It is therefore inconceivable that human community could become whole and sustainable while bring our lives into balance with the requirements of our spiritual nature. Spirit. Such an important part of community is understanding spirit,
Mhm.
and that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. Next.
Mhm.
Now here's something we put together to really to begin. This is within organizations. It could begin with the community.
Mhm.
So when we're going to make decisions or behave, we have to ask ourselves these questions: Is it trustworthy? Is it honest and transparent? Does it create unity? Does my action create unity? Does it maintain dignity? You know, keeping us in that place of respect.
Mhm.
Are my intentions pure? Am I detached? Is it just? Is what I'm doing or what we want to do it done in the spirit of service? Does it show humility? Would I be ashamed if others knew about it? And we should look at that at all the dimensions of our life. Is there anything we're doing in our life that we'd be ashamed that others knew about?
Mhm.
That's the flag. Needs to be some healing there.
Mhm.
Does it demonstrate and develop competence, you know, to help us to be better and wiser human beings? Uh, would I want to be treated this way? So that's another question we make community decisions or individual decisions in our community. Would I want to be treated this way?
Mhm.
Would the other person want me to behave this way? The wisdom of love. People would love us. Next. Morals and ethics. Sustainable human and community development requires a moral foundation. When morals decline and basic ethical principles are violated, development stops. Now, again, I'm not talking about being holier than thou, you
Mhm.
know, that kind of deal. I'm talking about basic values of respect, kindness, not taking advantage of people sexually. So, and we see that happen. People who have been given a lot of gifts in healing, but haven't really healed their heart. Sometimes we have abuse in our ceremonies. And that's really hurtful because people come to us for healing. And if we haven't healed ourselves, and then we, hurt other people in that manner, really it's hurtful to people. It hurts a very spiritual being. And that's when somebody is seeking out the spiritual and you hurt that really hurts people. So we have to really think about those people who have been hurt, but as well, I've found that only hurt people, only abused people, and only colonize people. So our bit of that stuff in us, so we won't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Now these are qualities by way which we utilized when we elected our first Council of the Union of the Condor, Hummingbird, Quetzal, and Eagle in Palenque, Mexico on March 21, 2023. These are just spiritually centered, acting in relationship to the Creator. Or what do you want to call the Creator? A higher power, morally strong, lives a good moral life, suitable status, role model, particularly attention to issues of addictions, relation with opposite sex, and honesty regarding money should be considered. Now, I want to share here too. I think that we need to be able to be loving and kind and compassionate to however people may unfold in their identification of who they are as human beings. I know that's a big issue today. And I think that we need to be respectful and kind and loving at the same time. Whether is not to try then to impose our lifestyle on others. That's something we have to really honor the choice of others, and honor everybody's choice. Now, if those choices are hurting other human beings, that's another thing. But again, remembering all our choices have consequences. Believe in the people's capacity to heal and development. He shows that belief in the way they work with the people. We have to believe in people. Believe in your community. Believe that they can grow and develop. That belief in that you look in their eyes and you just know that you believe in them. You care for them. You're there for them. Engaged in his or her own healing journey as a relatively healthy person. Has a good mind and clearly understands the process of healing and development in the issues that people are facing. Next. Listen to the people with respect, love, and humility. Has demonstrated devotion to the people's healing and development by hard work and a good attitude over a long time. Shows true respect for the Creator, Mother Earth, and all persons. Does not show respect for anyone, including women, men, youth, the poor, other races, etc. That's whoever it is. And work well with others in a team, and strives to work from the position of forgiveness, unity, and harmony with everyone. Learning. Human beings are learning beings. We begin learning while we're still in our mother's womb, and unless something happens to close up our minds and paralyze our capacities and capabilities, we keep learning throughout our entire lives. Learning is the core of healing and development. Learning. Next. Sustainability. To sustain something means to enable it to continue for a long time. I think development does not use up or undermine what it needs to keep ongoing. And of course, same thing with community. Whether it be the natural world or not sharing the responsibilities. If we put the responsibilities on one person, they're going to burn out. So it's the same thing with the community members. We've got to find a way to share, and that's what a part of community. Coming together and being able to share responsibilities as a community, as a common unity, where we understand that the healing of one, the help of one is the help of all, so to speak. Next. Move to positive. And this is one, I'll tell you, is really important today. All stuff we can see around us. because it'd be so easy to get pulled into the collapsing side of this process. Solving the critical problems of our lives and communities is the best approach by visualizing and moving into the positive alternatives that we wish to create, and by building on the strength we already have rather than on giving away our energy fighting. Now, the fact is, on one hand, we can hear the death cries of an old dying away. It's dying. It's based on a. It's not based on a spiritual foundation. It was able to take and utilize enormous wealth of the world. You can see where we're at. Now it's collapsing. But an animal at the last stage of their lives are the most dangerous. Anybody that's been out and seen an animal dying, any animal, know that that's the time of most danger. We have to be careful. On the other hand, we can hear the birth pangs, the birth cries of the new. It's emerging everywhere. That's what I want to listen to. That's where I want to move towards. So stand in your strength. Stand in your strength. Move the positive alternative you wish to create without giving away your energy fighting negativity. Last principle. Be the change you want to see. The most powerful strategy for change always involves positive role modeling and the creation of living examples of the solutions we are proposing. By walking the path, we make the path visible. Of course, Gandhi made that as one of his primary teachings. Our indigenous elders, they walked the path. They knew that was the way to do it, not to talk about it. It's fine to philosophize, but if we don't translate what we're philosophizing into our own lives, it has no impact on transforming us to a better place. So those are the 16 principles that I wanted to share today. And there's more we can share as we go along. And it's really, Coach Scott, I want to really say that I'm so happy to see in some of our older generation, but it's the young generation that's coming up, the seventh generation that's prophesied. We're stepping out and stepping out, and they are moving the alternative we wish to create. So creating community, which is lacking. I mean, I live here in a little community called White Rock, just on the border of Canada and the United States. In a little street, one is closed. It's one little street closed off at other ends by two other streets. And really, we live here, and it happens because we know one of the neighbors down the street from the past. We know them, but really, usually, I mean, I if I had to say, well, who lives over here? Who lives over here? I wouldn't know, because it's just not community. We have other communities. Maybe we have spiritual communities or religious communities. We have communities that like to bowl together. We have communities that like to go out and drink beer together. We have communities that like to do whatever. But it's the community of those who are right here, and that's why the intentional communities are so important, because they're the models for the future. Because actually, in a true community, when you walk out your door here, I should be able to say, "Oh, hello, how you doing? How you doing?" Really, if you think about community, we live in a place called White Rock, but how many people do I really know in White Rock? How many neighbors do I really know? Because that is not the way society is structured, and we have to change that. Then, when you walk down the street, you know that you're there surrounded by love in your neighbors. Together, we can protect our communities. So I thank you so much. Any last thing you'd like me to?
Wow. Well, thank you, first of all, for that very comprehensive layout of how you see the principles of this big change. I mean, the way we see it is there's this massive movement towards changing our culture. And for me personally, my piece of the puzzle has a lot to do with village, and most of what I've learned about the true nature of village comes from the Indigenous peoples that I've had the honor of sharing food with and sharing ceremony with, and also just studying. And I feel like there's such an important piece that the Indigenous empowerment holds in this movement. And, that's why I'm so grateful to be talking to you right now. One of the things that came up for me really strongly when I became a parent was this grief that I didn't have a village, and realizing that in our culture, we've been, you talked about disunity. We've been separated, and children are separated from each other and from adults. And then elders are also separated. And when I looked at intact villages, I saw that, wow, kids and elders are actually beautifully matched for each other.
Yes, absolutely.
They're meant to be together. And then I talked to an Indigenous elder locally, and he said, well, the way we see it is that at the center of the village is the children,
yes,
because of the future generations. And then around that center circle is the elders.
Mm-hmm.
And then around that are the adults, who are really just keeping everything moving for the beginning and end of life to continue that cycle. And that's such a beautiful thing that I think we've completely lost in our Western culture. We're starting to reclaim it, but I mean, just that sense of the ongoing nature of life and death, and the wisdom of eldership, and the wisdom of childhood, and how we actually need to stay together to hold the web of social fabric and to hold village. And so what I've been, exploring both experientially in my own version of a village, and then also studying villages, is how do we bring this into the modern world? How do we help people who have been disconnected from village relearn and remember how to be that way? And especially people in cities, especially people that are isolated, that are dealing with mental health and addiction. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the breakdown of social fabric. So if we really want a big solution for our culture, we need to reintegrate village, or at least deep community. And something that you spoke of really clearly in that paper that you wrote, Deep Social Networks and the Digital Fourth Way, was about deep social networks, about how, using technology for good, and that there is a possibility, like you say, the hammer can be used to build a beautiful house. And so I think everyone should go read that paper, first of all. I'll link that, as well as the presentation and anything else here below. But I was just curious, my big question for you is how you see deep social networks, because that's how I see Revillager working, is as a deep social network to bring people into actual community in real life, locally, and in these meaningful ways that you've just outlined. How do you see technology being used in a good way, and what can we learn from your understanding to actually put into our design and to help Revillager be even better?
Well, one thing I want to share in this regard is that really every part of the human family has a contribution to make, and in sharing. And I think of our Indigenous communities. If we were said, okay, we don't want to have any buddy appropriating what's ours. I can understand that point of view, but also can say, okay, then let's strip ourselves of all our cell phones. Let's strip ourselves. Let's get all the electricity out of our houses, and so forth. What I'm saying is that all the human family has brought gifts. I mean, in the arts, all in the arts, because that's the way. By the way, our elders say that there's 4 simple systems by which we mediate experience with the world. With the physical world, it's mathematics, in all its forms, mathematics.
Yeah.
And these 3 prime numbers, 3, 6, and 9, which are quite amazing. Another whole development. Anyway, we'll get into that. The human world is through spoken and unspoken language. And to mediate our experience with the unknown world is the arts, or the spiritual world, in its highest form. Now, arts can also, because they influence the spirit, can also take you down, to the grunge, but also it can really uplift in our souls. That's why people pay $1 million for a painting. Why they pay $1 million for a painting? Because it does something here. It touches you something, and then of course we mediate our experience with ourselves through dreams, our dreams. Now, in terms of those deep social networks, we have been working here intensely over 52 years now, since we fulfilled the sacred prophecy of the Reign of the Condor and Eagle in Bolivia, beginning March 21st, 1971 through July 9th, March 21st, 1970 through July 9th, 1971. Literally, that prophecy was fulfilled. So that prophecy said that when the eagle came and to meet with the condor, that would begin a movement that would unify the indigenous peoples of the Americas. And of course, in that process, in traveling across the Americas, when we came to Central America, there was no condors and eagles flying across Central America, but it became clear that for them, that great symbol was a Quetzal. So then you can see, if you look back historically, you'll see first it was a union of the condor and eagle. Next thing you know, the Quetzal comes in. So now it's a union of the condor, the Quetzal, and the eagle. But then, as we begin to work with our relatives in the Amazon, and beginning in 2020, then the hummingbird came in, which symbolically represents the Amazon. So on March 21st, through digital technology, which helped us, we were able to bring together representatives from the condor, hummingbird, Quetzal, and eagle in Palenque, and on March 21st, 2023, elected the first council of the union. And interesting, it was 52 years exactly from the time this was fulfilled in Bolivia. And that the number of 52, by the way, is a sacred number in the Mayan calendar, that 52-year cycle. But then when it came out, we have a non-political, non-partisan type of electoral process that is incredible. We came up and decided we would have 13 members. We were thinking about 9 or 7. 13 members. Of course, 13 is 13 months of the calendar for there. And the wonderful thing is what is out of this, it came, there's 7 women and 6 men in the council. Majority women, which I really feel good about. Because that's really the ones, if you really look at all these different social movements and so forth and so on, and things that are happening, they're really, women are leading these. Women are leading peace. They are. And I think that those qualities, let's put it that way, I think we have to really redefine this whole thing of the either or thing. As we can see, human beings have a whole number of ideas about who we are, male, female, all the different definitions we might have. But I think it's this qualities, it's all the qualities that we have that we have all of them. We have all the qualities. It's like back in about 1970, they did a study up in Alaska, and they determined that indigenous children were more right-brained. Right-brained. They see the world as a motion picture. Our languages are verb-dominated language. We see the world as a motion picture, and that European languages, French, English, Italian, and so forth, are noun-dominated languages. They see the world as a snapshot. When I heard that, I said, I don't want to be a half-wit. I want them both. I want to have the motion picture going, and I want to have a snapshot too. Right? I want the whole thing. So we want to be, we want to become full human beings and have all the qualities, everything. Okay, Torshka.
Thank you so much, Uncle. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to asking you more questions in the future, and getting your word out. And thank you for all your work with the prophecy and the Fourth Way and the Four Worlds International Institute. I mean, it's just incredible work, and you're so inspirational. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I thank the Creator. And I
Mm.
want to say, if you or anybody here hearing this is particularly touched by something I said or think the same way or like my thoughts, it's because you already have those within you. We couldn't see them in me.
Mm.
If you didn't have the same understanding, you couldn't understand what I was saying. We're just mirrors to each other. I really want to make time to stop putting people on some pedestals, like, you know what I'm saying? We're all sacred beings.
Yeah.
Every one of us.
Yeah.
Have something to share with others. I've learned a lot, so much just myself here today.
Mm.
I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is.
Doksha.
Have a beautiful day.
Yes. See you another time. They say, we always, when we close, we always say Doksha. Really, it's a kind of short part, but it means we'll see you again another time in another place. Aho.
Beautiful. Aho.